Shift the gears with DD Speed Shop, we're back again. With tales from the garage where the hot rods reign. Dan and Murr, they're the wrench-turning crew. With Denny by their side, the podcast begins. They're talking classic hot rods and new cars too. Life hacks and lifestyle and a little YouTube. It's DD Speed Shop, the podcast.
Did you get a haircut today, Murr?
No, this just goes away automatically now.
It looks very groomed considering how windy it is out today.
I was sweating. I washed the car.
It's hot out today. Did you get anything for free weekend?
Absolutely nothing. That was very disappointing. We got. Oh no, actually, I tell a lie. On the way to Costco yesterday, on your street, actually, I think there was a piece of marble that Mom wanted for the garden. That was it.
I mean, it's free weekend. That's what we do. So.
Yeah, most disappointing.
Well, I'll tell you what's not disappointing.
Are we on? Dan here, DD Podcast with Murr and Danny behind the camera as per always. And we got some stuff today. We don't just wing it here. We spend hours and hours planning things.
Well, one of us does.
Murr does.
Murr spends hours and hours planning. I spend all week giving you topic ideas, and then you come to me Saturday morning and go, "What am I talking about this week?"
That's right.
Yeah.
Winging it.
Winging it.
The DD Speed Shop way. So, first, I guess we gotta address the elephant in the room. The Camaro is back in the garage, and it's a little light in the nose. So I spent today pulling the motor, the transmission, and the rear end right out of this thing, just for fun.
Yeah.
I think worst case, we can always just put it right back in.
Yeah, just like Lego.
But, do you think we should shut the door? Like, the guy's gonna be sawing. Think that's gonna get annoying? He was,
I mean, yeah, we can shut it.
it'd be hot a little bit. But
Well, lower it down just a tad. See if
It's like 28 degrees out here today, you guys.
well, we'll just start this whole thing again. I got the...
Oh, got the creeper. Well, turn the creeper sideways, and I think if you just have any kind of...
Start again? You think I'm going to edit any of this out? Absolutely not.
You're not gonna start again?
No, we're still going.
That's embarrassing. It'll hold itself there. Anything for the minutes. That's how live it is. Anyway, so...
Is that the way it's done? Really?
Yeah, we just
Somebody
wing it
get
here,
Doug DeMuro on the phone.
You get what you pay for.
That's how my script does it. He doesn't have no two takes. So we put everything in this thing. I had it running and driving. It was 90% of the way there. I was going to change the turn signal switch. We had the lights working, motors running good, all that sort of stuff. And ultimately, I didn't fit in it well. I went and spent $1,000 on those seats. Mm-hmm. I made custom brackets, put them as low as they could, as far back as I could. Now, everybody says, there's more I could have done. I could have taken the back seat right out. I could have, cut the floor down because it's got some bracing. And there's a bunch I could have done yet. But, at the end of the day, if you have to, it reminded me of the Cobra. And when I first got the Cobra, I drove the wheels off it for probably a year or two. And then I started realizing that it was almost dangerous because I didn't fit in it. Mm-hmm. And then it's just not fun. It wasn't good. I drive myself a lot, drive to work, do all those sort of things. I got to the point I was like, well, we're trying to get rid of things. And I was iffy on if this would go or the Blue Nomad would go. And that made my decision much easier. I didn't know, but I did some Googling, and the wheelbase, according to the internet, is shorter on a Camaro by 3 inches than a Nova.
Really?
I thought they were the same car.
As did I.
But I guess that's not the case. Huh. Unless Google lied, which could be.
It could be. But
I do fit in the Nova, and I don't fit in this.
That, yeah.
So it kind of that does jive. And then I guess it must just be the sedan to coupe or something
3
like
inches in the wheelbase department makes
that's
big
3 inches
to the
in
drivers.
legroom.
Yeah.
So that's obviously. I told Danny we should make a whole video on it, comparing a Camaro to a Nova, in case anybody, whatever. So my advice going forward, I've seen a few videos, was sit in a car if you're going to buy it or work.
Perhaps before you invest thousands of dollars.
Before you drive to Saskatchewan, whatever it is, 9 hours away, buy 2 cars for all the money, ship them all home, then spend thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours putting it together and go, oh, I don't fit in this thing. Or maybe put the seat in first, not last.
Yeah, maybe. Things to remember. So
anyways, that was fine. I mean, if this thing was an automatic, we could have driven it. It's not terrible by all means. I could still drive it. It wasn't like it wasn't a clown car. It just wasn't comfortable. And then I came to the point, I was like, well, I have a bunch of money in the motor. I had the transmission gone through, and then I have that rebuilt 12-bolt rear end. And I was like, you know, and then all the add-ons, I mean, like the fancy carburetor, the fancy distributor, I mean, the scatter shield, the new clutch, all those things that when you buy, I can show you the bill, but they're worth nothing to the next guy.
No.
Because it's the old, oh, sure, it's rebuilt, sure, it's this, sure, it's that. So I decided, well, I'll pull it out. Now, my issue is, and I guess I can ask you and the internet, actually, I'm hoping by the time this video comes out, this is gone. That's always nice that happens, but you never know. People can comment. So I'm fighting out because I put the 10-bolt that was in it when I got it, which is fine, back in. So it's a roller. I have a turbo 350, and I have kind of like 2 or 3 small blocks, but they're junk. Like the one that I have, the one next door at 283, which barely runs.
Yeah.
If I could play with it, get it running. There's a 350 sitting between the rails of the Healy, which is, I don't even know what that one is. And then another guy wanted to give me a free 327 that was a runner with a wiped out camshaft. So I had to put a camshaft in it and then make it run. So I could do El Cheapo motor of any sort into a miscellaneous, it was a free turbo 350 transmission stock converter. Put that in there, but then I'd have to deal with drive shaft, shifter, you know, screwing around, some sort of exhaust maybe, or I mean, I don't know, whatever. Like, is it worth the screw around? Because the way I see it, I would rather buy it like this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, I mean, if you gave me a junk small block, I'm like, who's going to drive it? It's a Camaro.
Yeah.
In today's world, I think that a Camaro is a nice enough car that you would at the very least put a real motor in it.
The guy that buys this knows what he's buying and is going to want to do it the way he wants to do it. You've done all the hard work and really just add drivetrain of your choice, which is the easy part.
The only thing is if someone wanted to put like a small block in it, you could drive it around the block and make sure it's not crab walking or something like that. It's the only thing I can kind of justify, but what a lot of work. And I mean, ultimately, I bet I'd have at least $500 into figuring out a shifter, figuring out a drive shaft, figuring like all this other stuff.
The guy that's buying this doesn't need to drive it around the block.
So you're telling me it's fine. It won't affect the value at all. I'll get my $1,800 back out of it.
If anything, I think somebody will buy it for what it is right now.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go to the next level of it, I'd be inclined to do that 327. Bit of a roll of the dice, you don't know the guy, but I mean, a cam takes about 9 minutes to do when it's
Problem is, and I've learned, camshafts, if you're not buying decent ones, like, I mean, I don't want to get into it because the internet told me I was wrong in a lot of ways.
We're having a nice day.
But in my, so I mean, I'm now drinking the Iski, you know, Kool-Aid, not sponsored, I might add, but a cam, lifters, and timing chain was like $1,200.
For one that doesn't
went in this thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's like $1,200. So, or do you gamble and toss in a miscellaneous whatever? Because it used to be, I mean, for $100 you buy a no-name hydraulic cam and lifters.
I've done that many times. Like they come in a white box, some kind of small block Chevy, some kind of lifters, some kind of timing chain, even a double roller one. It all fit. It all went fine. Like that's, you know, I mean, this is of course 30 years ago, but I mean, when you had all that trouble, I absolutely couldn't believe that it wiped out the first one. And then it wiped out the second one. I thought, maybe there's something onto that. And now the internet is supporting you and saying, you know, if you buy a camshaft, you know, they got to spend huge money or buy a roller cam, which is ludicrous.
Well, it seems dumb. And I mean, stuff's so expensive. Like even an oil change. I just bought oil for the Blue Nomad. Yeah. So I went down, I bought Lucas 1040 high zinc, whatever. And the guy's giving me a deal at the parts. It was $14 a liter. Like, plus, I mean, you want the, you know, a decent Wix filter, another $10. Yeah. So next thing you know, like it's a $70 oil change
for a 50s car
for a small block Chevy. Like it's unbelievable.
Which when they came out didn't even have an oil filter.
Yes, exactly.
And you drained the oil out and let it all settle down, siphon off the first 3.5 quarts
and top her up.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. It's just the cost of things. So I mean, that's like even that you put a motor in there. Well, by the time you do an oil change, like it's just ridiculous. So yes,
things that should not happen. I'm sorry. It just should. Driveline issues should be non-existent and have been non-existent for many years. Like it's just
starting to feel like an old man because. I get it. I've read all the stuff now. And, you know, breaking in a camshaft now, when I did it, I can accept the fact that the way I did it, I think was right. But what I should have done is put on, like, light valve springs and all these, like, all this other stuff now, which I mean,
compensating for poor parts, which is...
Oh, there we go. A few more inches down. Garage door just fell. Well, that's just it. I can't justify it. But now, so you buy the cheaper cam, but now you got to buy a second set of valve springs that do what?
Yeah,
They're junk. They're gonna be like marshmallows.
well,
so now you have to have those, and then knowing me, I'll lose one, and then it's junk.
Well, somebody made the comment that you should break the engine and cam in on light valve springs, and then change the valve springs
That's what
after.
I'm saying. Yeah. There's
Who on earth would come up with that?
The experts who know more than us. We're two idiots in a garage that can't figure out a garage door opener here. But no, so that's just it. So like a hydraulic cam, by the time you do all that stuff, you might as well either buy name brand or a roller, because it's just not worth your time anymore. So that's unfortunate. The days of a small block Chevy being cheap are well and truly gone. Like, it's just terrible, because with an LS, you can buy the cheap stuff, slap it in there, and it will be fine.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's passed from that a million available, cheap, will last forever, to now it's an antique, you know. So
well, and I mean, I don't know if I said before the the podcast, but machine shops around here a year out.
Yeah.
If you want something dialed, you got to go to John and Cecil, because they make it happen. They have stuff ready to go and all that. Like, if you just walked in as a Joe Blow guy now with, I mean, drag race season, roundy round guys going, and then immediately into snowmobiles. Yeah. Like, there's probably a 6-week span where the guy's not busy.
Hey, Mer, do you want to just move your mic down, like, just a little bit?
Oh, Mer's too loud.
I'm too loud.
So I want to talk about that. What was that? The Camaro and all that, so we're good? Oh, it's Mer. Man, we're really... Episode 5 or 6, we're struggling here.
Farther down, or are you okay?
I think that's fine.
Okay.
So we got that all dialed together.
What was your surprise from Mer?
Oh, I can't let it out yet. Do you want to talk about your thing, or is we going? Or it's Rip on Mer Day.
Because I don't even know what it is about Mer.
No, either did I. But I was looking at my phone because I had another thing I wanted to talk about. Actually, I got a couple things here we can get right into. So yesterday, this isn't about you.
Thank God.
Yet. You got me good on the first couple, so I got to give you one back. I was working on the blue Nomad, the new Mad. So it's good. It's it's on the road. We're kind of going through it, and I was trying to go through the wiring because the wiring was disaster. So I thought when I went home, I thought it had all the lights working on it, but I guess it didn't. And it had miscellaneous things and this and that. And basically, it's the old, guys bitch about if you don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't touch it and stuff. And so I had mixed feelings about it. So whoever wired that car didn't really know what they were doing, which is fine, because you know what? There's many times I didn't know what I was doing, and there's still a lot of time I don't know what I'm doing. And they had done all sorts of things, and it's, I mean, as a mechanic, you'll appreciate it. But so in that car, I think it was, I could be wrong here, but right rear stuff was purple and left rear was pink. Yeah. Right? And what they had done is, for some reason, they'd cut it all up and done things. Well, it went from purple to pink on one side and then pink to purple on the other, so opposite was working. So when you're looking at the wiring diagram and you find a piece of wire, you're like, well, purple, why does this not have power? And then you go, and it's backwards and this and that. So they had cobbled it, and I mean, it wasn't working, and just for no real reason. So I cut it all out, and I just, made it, and I put it together, so it's good now. But, I was thinking to myself, at the time, I was a little frustrated. Danny was out here as I was losing my mind, because I have the wiring diagram on my phone. I'm lying on my back under the dash with the light going. Why? Like, I have power at the switch. The pink power was good, but then going to the taillights, it didn't have power.
What's happening between here and here?
Like, which of course is behind the dash. So I'm like, there's just no way that's broke or wore. I mean, the amount of times like a wire is going to break is none. Yeah. So it's the switch that screws up, or it's very obvious the wire's been ripped out. So I'm screwing around, then I'm looking, there's a connector in there, and someone had done it, and they'd done something backwards. I'm like, why would they do that? And so, anyways, there was other issues with it, but obviously when it was on the road left was right and right was left on the back, but the front was correct. So like it would have been doing like
the guy behind you thinks you're turning right in front of you thinks you're turning left.
Who knows if even that guy, if whoever had driven it last or down last, even noticed, right? Like they might have just checked the front and you went, oh, works, and then like why bother to check the back if I have it all wired? Or
it was just one of those things. And I was thinking to myself, like, and I kept saying, who did this and who wired this? And I was mad at the guy. But then I was thinking to myself, you know what? He probably did the best he could. Yeah. He kept it on the road. It had brake lights because those didn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, so it's one of those, and I'm like, I don't know. I was frustrated, but the flip side is, if it kept that thing on the road for a little bit longer, and then I started thinking about the black Nomad and how butchered that thing was and cut up and the front axle and all those things they did to it. And people are, oh, I can't believe someone did that to that car. But it's just a car. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I look back and think, thank God someone did that versus ended up in the scrapyard. I mean, that thing should have been a scrap car. But for whatever reason, it was still there. The VIN plate was still, they didn't rip that off just for fun.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, I bought a door frame with a VIN on it. That's what that thing was. But without that, it was absolutely scrap metal.
Absolutely.
So somebody along the line kept her going. And here I am mad about this car, which has paint, it's nice, it's all, I mean, it's a wiring. Like, who cares? I mean, to rewire the back half of the car is a day. But I was mad because, it was just not making sense. So I thought I would go on my rant about that.
Well, when I first started teaching, my first 3 or 4 years, I learned so many things that, I mean, I thought I knew all the basics. I mean, you have to be a mechanic before you can teach. I've gone through, I think, most of the scenarios, but I learned all kinds of things, like the whole 1157 bulb only fits one way. No, it doesn't. Like, yes. And those little headlights, they have the nice 3 little things, so you can't put the headlight in wrong. Yeah. Oh, yes, you can. Brake pads. Well, brake pads actually will fit steel side to the rotor. Everything goes together perfectly fine. When you think about it, it's a mirror image, so of course it doesn't. You're like, how could that happen? So things are mysteries.
I just saw, actually, scrolling through Instagram the other day, and there was a guy, he's filming these guys. How did you forget this? And they're working on a big truck, and they had all the wheels on, everything like that, and the brake drum is sitting on the ground. So they're like these things happen, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, when you have so many different things, I think, like on the go, like today was a good example of that when we were moving the Camaro in here, and you were trying to figure out, there was a reason you couldn't drive it in here.
Yeah,
and you couldn't figure out what the reason why you couldn't drive it in here was, because you have done 18,000 different things in the meantime.
Well, so what I did was the Camaro was in the other garage. And I was like, oh, I'll work on it there. But I was like, there's more room here. The blue car was here, but I got it all done. The engine crane's over here. I mean, everything moves, but it's a hassle.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I'll do it over here. And Danny's like, so I'm like, oh, I got to get the tow truck. She's like, why don't we just drive in it? I'm like, oh, it doesn't drive for some reason. She's like, why? Well, then I was like, oh, why doesn't it run? I go over there. Well, all the plug wires are off for some reason. I'm like, why did I take all the plug wires off? Well, I stole the heat shield boots I had on it to put on something else. And then I was like looking, oh yeah, there's a pan under it. I had cracked the rad loose and drained all the water out of it. So I'm like, well, I mean, by the time I put it back together and put the boots on so it's not going to burn the headers, which are on the Nova now.
Yes.
So I have to take the Nova apart to put the Camaro together ignition-wise, then put coolant in it, or grab it with the snatch truck and move it around. So that's what we did. But I mean, yeah.
Well, and that actually brings up another good point that people often get upset about, and it's how you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and how you're taking parts off of one car and you put them on another, and they're like, well, why don't you just have 18 of these, or why don't you have 10 of these, or why don't you have 16 batteries? Like, stuff is expensive.
Well, the problem I have is batteries, in my experience, don't like to sit like in cars for a bunch of times. So I try and have 2 or 3 batteries that I use on a regular basis. Then when you got to move a car, you get a new car, you take one out of the other one and keep it going. And then I have plug wires and stuff like that all the time. But I mean, sometimes it's you're there, and we have the added pressure of getting a video out. And it's just like, do I run to the parts store? Do I get this? Do I do whatever? Or do I grab it and put it on and carry on? I'm getting a lot better at it, I will say. I used to really steal stuff a lot. But now I'm trying to make things a little nicer and kind of carry on.
Well, and you can only drive one car at a time.
You can only drive one car at a time. So what's the big deal? Exactly. That's how I look at it too. So it's the summer of drivers. We're trying to have more. So Danny's car is going to get a once over, but it's pretty good.
My car is not being sold for everyone that was very concerned.
No, her car's staying. The black Nomad's good.
Well, my 57, that is.
Yeah. The blue Nomad is getting a once over. The Nova will get a good once over. Danny Chevy 2 is ready to go. I mean, just put a pile of miles on it. Whether we keep that one or not, it's irrelevant. And then my gray 55, which I gotta think I did a lot to that and put a few miles on it. So I want to go get that and bring her home and all those should be able to turn the key and go. I'm hoping.
You
Famous
just
last
jinxed
words.
it.
Yeah.
Like
By
it all
October
got jinxed.
30th,
Yeah,
the day before snow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, so here we go. Now I'm gonna throw Murr under the bus here.
Oh.
People kept asking about this. So this is Murr's failed projects. Why don't you get anything done, Murr? You have all these cars there. The Volvo 123 has been on jack stands for 4 years.
Probably. Yeah.
So I don't know why he's not getting that done. Like, what do you? You're retired. You have nothing going on. Nothing on the horizon. And then the Bricklin. People are asking about the Bricklin. Why isn't it done yet?
Well, that's.
Like, what's the holdup?
I started. I got the driver's window working
Oh,
and
there
all
you go.
that.
Yeah, right.
I did a few things like that. We're actually waiting for the contact guy you gave me.
That
and
guy.
Oh,
Did he get back to you?
well, he got back to me. Like, he was in the States. Like, he's, I guess, like us. He spends the winter in Arizona or something. He said he'd be
So-
back in Winnipeg in May. So he hasn't talked to me yet. I didn't
You
want
should
to
send
bother
another
the
email
guy.
because actually I went and looked at a car like an idiot. That's what you do when you downsize.
Yeah.
You buy cars. I sold 4, bought 1. I'm doing pretty
Yeah.
good so far.
Yeah.
But he was actually the guy who told this guy about us
Oh, yeah.
and put him onto us type
Okay.
thing. So he's in Arizona or something like that, I think he said. So he said he was back. I thought he said maybe, but maybe it's the end of May.
Well, he said he's in Arizona until May is the way he,
Oh, yeah.
he emailed me back.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to bother him, but I mean it's a couple of weeks in now. I was going to try phone him and see
Yeah,
if he
see what he
answers his
says.
phone. Yeah.
Because that'd be good. But that, and then the other product, which we should do a little deep dive for Murr, is the bug eye.
Uh-huh.
The bug, you've had that thing.
Oh, many years.
Like, I don't even know how. You got
I
to be
know.
Is that
25
the
years.
one under the tarp?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably
Because-
under 5 tarps by now.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. The poor little bug eye I got when I first started getting an interest in British cars and did mechanical stuff to it, got an extra engine for it, but it needs the equivalent of a quarter panel, which at the time was not available and now basically still is not available. When I bought the thing, it looked like a bug eye, but it had an inch of filler on one
Yeah.
side. Like, it took a really hard shot. So I thought, well, that's no problem. I'll just change the quarter, and have not been able to find a quarter. And then I went on to the MGB, and then I went on to the TR6, and then I went on to all these other ones, and it's still there. So it might
Just
happen,
try it.
but
But wait, it's not the quarter, isn't it? On like the
Well,
truck
it's
side
the-
of the quarter is crunched.
the
That's what I
equivalent of the B pillar, where the door fits into it. Yeah, that's where it is in the
I
jam.
thought the jams.
The
was
door,
manual?
yeah, the door jam, yeah, is the
I thought it was on the like it was crinkled, like behind the driver area had a big shot there. Is that not what it was?
no. It's
We
well,
can't
it's
just
got
make
a it's got a buckle in it, but that's all one piece, like all across the back of it. Like, it doesn't have a trunk that opens.
yeah.
So it has a bit of a wave to it, but it's caused because the quarter panel and the jam, the striker, all that stuff is mangled.
We have an English wheel.
We can't just fix that.
Well, we probably can.
Might look a little buckshy.
The other problem is this whole going away for half the year.
Yeah, that is a hassle.
Really.
And you
get
come home
nothing
in
done.
summertime where you kind of want to be outside,
Well,
yard work. And
when you come home, and then we've got like a fairly good sized property and stuff like that, and a lot of stuff happens when you're away for 6 months, so
Yeah.
takes a while. So I mean, eventually you kind of get to it. I hope.
eventually,
Maybe.
26 years.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
27.
Well, how long have you had it for?
Oh man. Got to be
I don't think
12.
I can drive.
yeah
12 years, you're
No.
thinking? No.
20. I don't know.
I've been gone 20 years,
Yeah.
so, and I was home when you got
Okay, yeah, that's funny then.
it. You are losing your mind.
Yeah, I know. Time
As
compresses.
I recall, this is how I know how old it was. I had that little Honda 70 bike thing, and you gave that as part trade to the guy. So I was before driving.
Don't even remember that.
Every bit of 20 years, at least that.
Okay, so I'm lazy. What can I say? I have done a bunch of cars between that, but just yeah.
We should bring that out and see. We should look at it at least and see if we can make a panel for it.
Yeah.
I hate to see
Yeah,
that.
with all the new technology you have now, you probably can.
Well, we can, at the very least, I can guarantee instead of having an inch of filler, we'll get it on 3/4.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You know.
Actually, so I did just use a word that a lot of people are very confused about that you say, which is bakshi, and they don't understand where it came from or what it means.
It just means like cobbled together out of whatever crap you have laying around, so to speak. It's not really the proper thing. Like,
I know what it means. Other Mer says it when I do something.
yeah.
So it's just a word association at this point. Doesn't look good. Oh, that's pretty bakshi.
I believe it actually comes from Ukrainian, but I don't know. Like a guy I used to work with was Ukrainian. He used it a lot, so that would be my guess, but I don't know.
It's fine.
Everybody around here knows what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you go. So that's what I want to talk about. I want to give you a hard time about not finishing your project.
Yeah, well, feel free.
Well, back to the Bricklin really quick though. So what is the plan for the Bricklin? So you have the window working,
Yeah,
but what's the next?
Well, I took it apart, got the arms were bent. That's why probably the window broke initially. So I heated them up with a torch, bent them into position. That looks, I think, okay. But the weather stripping is so old and hard that the glass won't slide. So just last week or whenever I came over here, and he gave me a couple of pieces from a 55 Chevy to see if I can get the inside channel working. It's a felt U-channel sort of a thing. So that, or you can get it from Amazon, but it doesn't really have a very good description of the size of it. So I thought I would try this thing first. But in actual fact, what's happened, the weather's been shitty and awful here the past, sort of 10 days, and we're repainting a room in the house, which has taken a lot of time.
It is terrible, and that car is outside, so yeah.
Yeah.
But now, finally today it's nice weather, so hopefully we can start working on it.
What is like your official end vision for the Bricklin?
Well,
Sailing it off into the river.
yeah, that's right.
That's what the internet wants. Sorry,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not what you want.
No, I think we'll just see if we can screw it together and make it look like a car. I mean, as I cleaned it up, got all that mold and whatever was around it from you having it hanging around. If you get far enough back, it's kind of a neat looking car.
Well, I actually think it's really sharp looking. When I had it outside here, like it's different.
It
It
is.
looks very Tron-esque or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, my plan is I'm going to force my help on you right away here. But once I get a few more things gone, I'd like to, we can work on it. I mean, it's a running, driving car.
Yeah, we got to do
So-
the front end and brakes and stuff, but I'm currently working on the Mercedes, and that's kind of taken up the
Yeah.
garage space and stuff like that, which I'm almost done, hopefully, with that, but we'll see. And also, as when this is going to air, but the big swap meet they have is tomorrow.
Oh,
So-
I heard there's a guy bringing all sorts of Bricklin parts.
No, but if there's a guy with American Motors parts, which is really all it is, same thing. So. Yeah,
There would be a guy in the back by himself with no one around him. What do you got, Bricklin parts?
Actually, I'm going to get one of those placards and put it around Danny. Wanted Bricklin parts. Call me, and then just have you walk around.
I mean, if you pay me enough money, I absolutely will do that for you.
But, no, it's actually a pretty solid car too. I mean, the internet is mixed on it.
Yeah.
But I think that thing, if you get it together, so we'll go through the front end. I mean, it runs and drives. It's got the wheel cylinders are not happy in the back. There's no back brakes.
Yeah.
We'll get that. Otherwise, I mean, the floors are fiberglass, so they're not rotten.
The biggest thing is going to be like the body has got 10 million cracks all over the place, which is what they do. But I mean, doing a little research on it, it's much like fixing an acrylic bathtub, So I mean, I'm going to V it out and put some stuff in and block it out and shoot it some kind of color. So it's never going to be a purist Bricklin, replace the skins and do all that stuff. But
ultimately, I mean,
the doors work.
It's low mileage.
Yeah.
Celebrity owned.
Celebrity owned. Yeah,
Like,
multiple celebrity owned.
Tavarish, what's that
Vice
guy's
grip.
name? Oh yeah, Vice Grip. Forget him all the time.
Yeah.
DD Speed
Small
Shop.
guy. Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. It's basically ready for either Bring a Trailer or Barrett Jackson.
Yeah, one
to
of the
go
two.
across.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's very flat. I mean, most parts. There's a couple little round bits to it,
Yeah.
but to block it out would be very simple. And you want to paint it silver, eh?
Well, I really thought about the silver and black, make it look like a DeLorean. But there's also a guy that's painted one red and silver.
I saw that.
And that looks,
Red and silver.
the top half is red and the bottom is silver. It looks.
Didn't they come that color?
No.
Oh.
They were all black on the bottom and 5 colors on the top. That's it.
The red wasn't one of the colors up top?
It's this was like like bright red, like
Oh, yeah.
like equivalent of your sort of convertible-y type of thing.
Where it almost looks
Tractor red.
orangey.
Yeah, it looked quite nice.
Really?
Yeah.
I just think, so here's my thing, because I know you've been talking about painting like it's silver, and I'm very anti that, because I'm like, if you want a DeLorean, then just get a DeLorean, but we have a Bricklin.
Well, I know it, but
So
I want it to
let's
look like
make
a
it
DeLorean.
Bricklin-y.
Here's what we'll do. We'll paint it silver, right? Then give it a year or two. Vice Grip will get tired of his DeLorean.
Yeah.
We'll drive down, get the DeLorean, bring it back, paint it like the Bricklin.
All right.
This has been our master plan all along. We're playing the long game, not the short game here at DD's Speed Shop.
Well, when you go down to Tennessee to get the hood, I also
in
know
Georgia.
from his old, must have been one of his first videos, he has a thing called a Saab Sonnet, which is probably laying in his field somewhere. You can bring that one back too.
I'll get right on that, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We text daily
Things-
about
things-
what I can get from him.
Yeah, good. Yeah, hi.
What else would you like me to donate
Yeah,
to you?
no, yeah.
Yes, that's how.
Yeah, he seems like a nice guy.
He's a really nice guy, but he's not an idiot. Holy crapper. You know, you have such the old guy mentality, you know, of just if it fits in
am an
your
old guy.
if it fits in your lunchbox, it's free. Cost of doing business, that is not reality anymore. Okay, give me your list of what do you want to talk about. What's all this crap you have here?
All this crap. It's not crap.
Well,
Actually,
so is mine.
I feel like before we get to Murr's
Oh.
list of goodies, I feel like you have goodies to talk about.
Well, we were gonna do it. Murr had a nice little intro for this.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that, then never mind.
Oh,
Yeah,
hang
well,
on.
let's do this the right way. Oh.
Okay, Murr,
Listen.
get into it.
Gotta get the production staff improved around here, you know?
Tell you, the last check bounced and she's really showing.
Yeah.
You know, if I could escape my little hovel, I would,
Go
but I am
produce another.
trapped.
Go produce another podcast.
Okay, so what I thought I'd talk about today, because why the hell not? I've been looking for things that a lot of Dan's channel followers know a lot of stuff, but it seems like there's a fair number of people that might be new to the hobby or wanted to get involved with it. So that's what I've been kind of thinking of, things that I've known for a long time and maybe other people, you know, don't pass on and whatnot. So today I thought my topic today is Loctite, or fastening devices to keep them from coming up. So they come in all sorts of colors.
What's it really called? Because Loctite's just the name brand, right?
Yes.
Threadlocker.
Yes, that's the thing. Well, actually,
It's not just Kleenex here.
it was originated in the 1950s by Vernon Kreibel, a retired chemistry professor. And he managed to get his son involved, and they did their little startup technology. And the technology was called anaerobic, which means it doesn't need air to cure, which was revolutionary in the time, because if they didn't want things to come off, the only thing they knew how to do was physical locking devices like lock washers or tabs that you pound over.
Yeah.
So he came up with this type of a thing, which is the same basic premise as crazy glue, which is now common, used
Yeah.
for all kinds of things, but that's what they came up with. So
Doesn't
they,
Crazy Glue need water?
No,
No, it does it on its own.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
it has to be two surfaces, and it can't have air against it.
Isn't
That's
that
what-
why you use crazy glue for like a cut if you're like in the middle of nowhere?
No, I
yeah,
don't know.
or in your garage, so to speak.
So you don't use Loctite for that.
You don't use Loctite for that.
Okay,
No.
gotcha.
This is slightly different technology, but anaerobic is the same thing. It doesn't need air, because when you tighten the fastener, the mating surface between the nut and the bolt is very tight together. You're not getting anything in there. But if there's this thing in between it, it locks it together. So that's where that thing came by. Now, the Loctite brand is kind of like what people say Kleenex. Well, they don't say, I want a facial tissue, they want a Kleenex. So they want to use Loctite. Well, Loctite's the first. There's lots of other different kinds. So I brought along some samples, and they go by colors. And that's, even the competitors, which are not Loctite, tend to use the same colors.
Well,
So-
none of those are Loctite, are they?
Yeah.
Mine wasn't. Those
Yeah.
are Permatex.
Yeah.
Is Permatex Loctite?
Yeah, I think they, you know, they seem to be bought out by one another. Like if you look at one, it's got the other.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's hard to tell.
So you get mad at one of you, buy the other, and they still win.
Yeah, that's right.
They're
Yeah.
smart guys.
Yeah.
I love that.
The main thing is you want to put this on something that you don't want to fall off, or you don't want to fall off, but you may want to take off
Well,
again.
vibrate loose and stuff
Vibrate
like that.
loose or something like that, yeah. So goes by colors, and blue being the most common. Blue is something that you want to put on and it'll last, but you can take it off without having to heat it up or use any undue force, something like that. That's the most common. There is one lower than this that's purple, which I've never used, and it is for small fasteners, like 1/4 inch or less, and it's for something that you might want to adjust periodically. So like a camera tripod or any kind of an adjustment that you set per vehicle. So you want to set something, make sure it doesn't come off while you're taking pictures or where you're doing what it is, but you can easily crack it loose with a screwdriver, move it to the new position, reapply it. And it's only for small fasteners, but not something I've ever used. This is for sure the most common. So I'd say blue is the most common.
See that? What? Nailed it. Speaking of blue, Blue Chew. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but it's chewable tablets at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. Best part, all done online, no doctor's visits, no awkward conversations, and no waiting line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the US of A and prepared and shipped direct to your door in a discreet package. So there you go, everybody needs a little Blue Chew. You gonna read a little?
Very simple. So all you do is you sign up at bluechew.com and consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and then you're approved and you get your prescription within days.
So you can't go wrong. Nothing wrong with using a little Blue Chew here and there. Again, we're talking about colors and all that, so Blue Chew is the one you want to go with.
We believe in the power of blue, clearly.
And it works. Murr said it's the best, that it is the best. He would never lie. He knows. He's this kind of guy. Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at bluechew.com. Chew it and do it. I love their slogan. I walk around the house saying chew it and do it quite often. We've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew for free when you use promo code DDSS at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's bluechew.com, promo code DDSS to receive your first month for free. Visit bluechew.com for more details, important safety information. And again, as always, we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast, and hopefully they'll carry on sponsoring it because, man, I tell you, the guests are not cheap.
So go use that promo code.
So if you don't mind, go to bluechew.com if you need it. Bluechew.com, use the promo code, and carry on. So it's like the Permatex and Loctite. We're Blue Chew people here.
Okay, there's no red chew, is there? No. So this is really the most common thing you're going to use. You're going to take the thing apart, and you don't want things to come apart unnecessarily. Now, the red is much stronger. It is the strongest one, and they do say in their instructions you may have to heat the fastener to get it to release its bond. I haven't found that, but depends what it is.
Like when I use red, it's on stuff you can kind of get to pretty easily.
Yeah.
If it was the only one that's I've had trouble with, not trouble with, but it's you red Loctite your like ring gear or whatever on.
Yeah.
And because they're a very shallow fastener, sometimes like a wore out impact socket, which is kind of loose on the end, doesn't want to grab it too good. You got to really get something in there. But
that's what I use, and you probably got it from me. Like I always red Loctite flywheel bolts, and maybe you're not supposed to. I don't know. This whole thing is one man's opinion.
A lot of people actually give me, they actually say, well, you shouldn't have to do that or whatever it is. But and maybe I use red on that all the time just because it's by far the best.
And I've never had trouble getting it apart. I've also never had one come apart. The blue is the one that commonly is going to take apart. I use that on the pressure plate to flywheel bolts, and I've never had one of those come apart easy.
Yeah.
And most often they have a fastener as well, like a lock washer or something like that. The orange is relatively new, like to me anyway, so I got some for Dan. He's not what he used it on, but it is between the blue and the red. So I guess it depends on how you want things to come across. The other thing you have to be very careful of is you don't want to use red on a steel bolt in an aluminum device because it is actually strong enough that you can tear the threads out of the aluminum to do that. So you want to be careful with that. I'm sure Danny's going to put in the notes the web address has more information than you'd ever want to know about this. but basically, you know, the blue for stuff you want to take apart easily, red for stuff you really don't want it to come apart, and you can use your own discretion from that. They also sell things that, like a spray to clean the bolts, and there's minutia to doing this. I'm sure
all
people.
sorts. They had that one that was like a gel pen thing and all
well,
that.
I've got one of those, and it's like a chapstick sort of thing, and it's a gel. So you turn it up from the bottom, and that's useful if you're trying to reach it into something, you're trying to do something maybe above your head, something like that.
Does the gel also come in the different colors?
Yeah. There is also another one which I don't own, but there's on their website, and it's green. And what it does is it's wicking, so you can put it on a fastener after it's tightened, and supposedly it will work its way in between.
There's all sorts of videos too, because it's how you apply it is a big part of it as well. Because some people, if you put it in the hole and on the bolt, or just the hole, and there's all sorts of stuff like that. Because depending what you do, like if you put it in the hole, and it can affect torque and all sorts of stuff, because now it's pressing back, and I've seen ones where they put it on threads, you put it in there, and then it pushes it all out. Like it's.
You have to be very careful, with anything like this, oil even, or anything else, about using it on a blind hole. That's a hole that has no open end, because you'd have to do something pretty stupid. But
you're going to hydraulic it.
Yeah, you're going to hydraulic it, exactly, and that can happen. You can crack an engine block, just like if you wash the engine and you think it's all nice and clean, and there's water in the bottom of the bolt hole. You torque a cylinder head bolt, and kersnap. So any of these things, this is just some information to tell people that it's out there. Good idea to use it on things that you won't, want to come off, or sometimes things that are worn out, like maybe you've got a door handle that's got a screw that perennially will come out because it's been taken off a million times, and it's a dress piece. It's chrome. It's got some finish on it, so you can't just put a regular bolt in. So that's one of the things you might put a little drop of that on, and we'll fix you up, and you can still take it apart if you have
I like using it on suspension stuff and all that. Just you want to take it apart at some point, but you put it on there. U-bolts, I always Loctite U-bolts, even though you probably don't have to, but they're one-time use anyways.
Yeah.
So you put them on there, a little Loctite, you hammer them tight, and then they're never going to come apart.
Yeah.
And odds are you're probably fine, but
a lot of this stuff is belt and suspenders. You got a lock washer, and you put this on.
Yeah.
Not going to hurt, and it gives you that little who knows what.
Well, you never know. You see those videos and stuff, the whole rear end will come right out of a guy's car or something like that, and you wonder, like, what did happen there? Actually, like, these are a perfect example. The perch for the front of the whatever leaf spring is just 3 bolts that go up into the side of the frame, and that's it. And they're blind. Like, you can't see them. Like, the floor covers them. I don't know. Just give it a little bit of Loctite and zing it up, torque them with a lock washer. Because 3 bolts are holding the entire rear end in this thing.
Witness our last podcast about the torque wrench. Like, if you have torqued it to spec, it shouldn't come off anyway. But if you've torqued it and you have a little dollop of Loctite on it, if it comes off, something's wrong. You have a problem. The fastener's worn out. It's overstressed.
With the Loctite, so how do you know where, to put it on the bolt, or you put it in the housing of the bolt, where it's going?
You can read the instructions, and it'll tell
you.
So
it'll be different for everything.
There's lots, and there's different grades. There's some stuff that is designed for higher temperature, in the different colors as well. They said, that's why I put that list in there. If you really want to go crazy, you can find out more information than you want. They sell on their website a 5-gallon pail of Loctite. It's probably $3,000.
Could you imagine that? Even the little ones have got expensive. It is not cheap now.
It has to be for, I don't know, putting rocket ships together or something. They're bridges. I don't know what you.
If you have Loctite in bulk, you've accomplished something in your life. I tell you.
I guess I don't know, but it is actually pretty interesting. The different things they sell, they use it for. There's lots of add-on things. This is just a basic idea for people that may not have ever heard of it.
To not thinking about it.
Yeah, that's right.
Get thinking about it and carry on. Because, for, like you said, the flywheel.
Yeah.
You put that all together, and then it decides to come loose and it rattles. Well, now it's a big job to take apart for 3 bolts or 5 bolts or whatever happened in there.
Yeah.
It's a nothing job while it's all apart on the bench or hanging from the engine crane to click it all together. But 5,000 miles down the road, and it's, oof, that doesn't sound good.
And always, it's a good idea to have the manual and read the instructions of what they want. Some manufacturers now are specifying some kind of locking thread
Yeah.
on different components, and others specifically say do not use certain things on it. Principally, sometimes electrical components like a sensor, where they don't want anything between the sensor and what it threads into. There's a million different things to do it, but this is just the basic, blue for stuff you want to take apart, red that you really don't want to come apart, and make sure the fasteners are clean, and use your torque wrench. There you
And
go.
a lot of times, you're gonna thread seal it so it doesn't come back to you as a problem.
Yeah.
And by the time the next guy's take it apart, it's his problem.
Yeah.
Because you don't want that customer to come back pissed at you.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you go take it in for service again and there's a problem,
And there's also, I happen to have this. This is 3M Scotch something.
where's your glasses? You need your glasses to find your
I
glasses.
need my glasses to find my
They fell
glasses.
right under the chair.
I dropped them on the floor. Oh,
Oh, don't roll over it.
don't roll over it.
Wow.
I'll start glasses.
This is the podcast content that
Oh,
the people
man.
are waiting for.
Old man.
Old
loses
man,
glasses.
old man looks for
I
glasses.
can tell you something rude. Scotch Weld.
It's called. He has like a turtle on his back.
Scotch Weld anaerobic adhesive, but also it happens to be red. So in even a completely different company, they still seem to go with the red and the blue for equivalent things.
Well, you gotta do that. I mean, because people would be blue Loctiting something together that's permanent on 3M and pulling aluminum threads out, and they sue the guy because, like, what the hell are you doing?
On this note, I brought two more things I had in the toolbox, which is kind of an interesting thing. The first is this stuff called Q-Bond. Same idea, but this is the equivalent of, you get little things of powder in these little vials, and the equivalent of, it's crazy glue. I mean, they have their own proprietary thing. It's crazy glue.
But that stuff is, I mean, go on Amazon and buy some.
Yeah.
Because that, like, it will fix anything.
This has the ability, if you break the little neck off the radiator where the tube goes on, because you get mad and you take the rubber thing off and it breaks, or a piece of plastic thermostat housing, or any kind of a phenolic, things like that. I've used
Or
it.
your turn signal lever. If it breaks off
Yeah.
and now it's junk, and you got to take especially on new cars, you
Yeah.
got to take it all apart. I mean, it's not going to look factory,
Yeah.
but you can do a little bit dab on there, put it in there, hold it, and it's
I have used this on, plastic intake manifolds and things like that, and
it works.
never came back.
It's like JB Weld.
it's like
Plus.
it's like JB Weld. It
I was
just
going to
comes in.
ask what the difference is between, because it sounds just like JB Weld then.
JB Weld is an epoxy-based thing where it has part A, part B mixed together, chemical reaction, and it hardens. This is the equivalent of the anaerobic thing. It mixes with whatever's in the little powder. I'm sure it
Yeah.
sort of dissolves that, and I have no idea how it works. I just know it works, and this thing has saved my butt more times than you would believe when you're dealing with high school kids going, Kerschnapp.
So now, cards on the table, Q-Bond, swing away can opener.
Oh,
If you only got $25, what are you going on Amazon and buying, Mer?
No, you can't give up the can opener.
You can change the plastic intake manifold, but that can open for your beans.
You got to get the cat food open. And the other piece, which is very similar to that, but works a little different, this is called Bondic, B-O-N-D-I-C. And this is a device that is fantastic, and I can't believe it's one of the only things I've ever seen. It's actually cheaper in Canada. I mean, that just doesn't make
That's
any
the
sense.
UV one? Is that what
Yeah,
that is?
this
Oh,
is the UV one. It has a small little button cell with a UV light on it, and it is cured by light. So you put the clear glue on whatever you're trying to glue together. You shine this little LED, which is, I won't even show on camera, but it's a little light comes with it type of thing, and it hardens up in a few seconds.
It's like when I get my nails done.
Probably.
Or
It's
your
more close to your teeth. That's it. If anybody's had a filling, they put all the stuff in there, and the hygienist shines that little light on there. That's exactly what it is. And it works fantastic. You can put a couple of layers on to build it up, and this is $15 in Canadian, which is like practically free. And it works. I've used it to repair like trim pieces and specialized piece I broke my glasses and I glued the piece back together. Like, this stuff is fantastic. Again, one of those things that, you know, you have in the toolbox. You don't use it very often, but man, is it
but I mean,
good to have when you need
the
it.
threadlocker's expensive. I think they're like $25 or something like that now for
The
a
big
thing,
one's
eh?
25. You can still buy the small ones. I think it's about 14.
Yeah.
You know,
So I mean that adds up. But I mean realistically, if you spend $100 here, you get 3 little ones of. And really, I think you only need the 2. I mean, you
Yeah.
need the red and the blue is all you need.
Yeah, that's all you need.
I mean, the other ones are getting excessive. So you got $30 there. Like so, this Cubon's 20 or 25. They have different kits for
Yeah, they have
size.
different sizes. Yeah.
And then this thing's 15. So I mean, if you spend 80 or $100, and you'll have lock stuff together. If you break something, they're all handy to have, and I've used all of them at different times and stuff like that.
Sort of like when I said you have one brand new pair of vice grips for emergencies.
Yes.
This is in the next drawer. Because
It'll fix all sorts of stuff.
yeah, it is really quite impressive stuff. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on weird and wonderful things.
You should
like
reach
that.
out to Cubon, see if they want to, sponsor the podcast.
Yeah, well, Danny, get
Product of
Cubon on the phone.
RSA. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
there
that's-
you go. You're just giving everybody these free plugs
Well,
here
well,
with your
I don't know.
hard-earned money.
Well, you know,
You're on a fixed income.
I know. Just things that my idea of this, and write in and tell me because I know you will, of things that I've known a long time and maybe younger people haven't run into yet, and
It's just handy to know.
Well, yeah, if you've broken the intake manifold or the thermostat housing, right away you're going to go, oh, I'm going to try and get one, and sometimes it's a lot of work. But if you knew there was such a thing to glue it together with,
well,
and,
not something where you just drop something and like an air filter lid, like a new plastic one, it pokes a hole up. You have the piece.
yeah,
Well, a new lid is going to be, it's probably a whole box together, a few $100s,
Yeah.
or put it together and it's fine.
and it's a good repair. It lasts.
It'll never
and
screw up. Yeah.
That'll be fine. Yeah.
There you go, Mark.
are
Dr.
we-
Science.
Okay. Are we ready for the new tool or?
Oh yes, new tool.
Okay. Well, this
I'm always
is
ready for a new tool.
yes.
Oh yes.
This is a little tool that's so old it's new.
Do you want to just hold it like, pull up a little bit more there, Mark?
Or
Like
go
that?
right to the
There
camera.
we go, yeah.
Yeah. And what this was originally designed probably in the 50s when cars had distributors and you used to have to put points in. And anybody that's done that, there's a few of us left laying around, really a bad thing if you dropped a little screw in the distributor because it'll fall in such a way that a magnet won't get it out, and then you have to take the distributor out, and you can't even take it to number one top dead center before you take it apart, so you could go in easy because it would mangle the inside of it. So this little device will hold a screw like this. You just set it like this. It's a spring-loaded thing. You put it on the equivalent of the slot, push it, and it locks it on. And it's impossible to see, but it's a screw starter. They're still available on Amazon, $15. People have used this. The fellow that I know is a computer guy. Got one because trying to put some little case inside a computer where you don't want to drop the little thing. He said, I said, I know what you need. I got one of these. And he said, that's fantastic. So he never heard of it before. So
Well, and that is handy.
Yeah,
And then further to that, there's all sorts of tricks too, like because if you want to use like nuts, I mean like a little bit of grease or
Yeah.
something like that in like a socket, then it'll hold it and you can kind of get down to an area and
yeah.
because that's the worst when you're dropping.
This
fasteners.
one is nice because I mean you can tape it and you can put glue on it. You can do all kinds of things like it. This is nice that it doesn't hurt the fastener at all. It just click, taken off, and then you tighten it with a conventional screwdriver. So there it is. So that's a section we'll call "So Old It's New." How about that?
Another minute with Murr.
Another minute with Murr. Get a life.
I zoomed in so we could see it a little.
Oh, good.
Oh,
Maybe Danny can take a picture and in post and put it in there.
oh. No.
Or I'll forget and I'll have to post it on Facebook again.
Well, I can send you the Amazon link if you want. They're available everywhere. A lot of woodworking stores and stuff like that have it.
Do they come just in flathead?
They come in Phillips. I don't have one that's Phillips, but
So all it does is it basically is a flathead screwdriver, and the center of it twists.
twists with a spring.
So you put it on like a regular flathead would be. You hit the little notch, and the two ends don't move, but the center does. So
Yeah.
it just it's trying to force itself against each other.
That's
so
it.
it's
Yeah.
very simple.
So it bites quite
It's actually
well.
on there pretty good considering
Yeah.
it's I mean, for a flathead,
Yeah.
which, I mean, if you look at a flathead
Yes.
wrong, you're stripping it.
Exactly.
So I gotta say, I don't have one of these. I should get one. Well, this is old because you have your name engraved in it.
I do.
And it's called a what? Oh, it's a blue point, but it actually reads "you poi." That's how wore out it is. half the letters wore out. Wow, that's pretty impressive. This is gonna go. I didn't have one of these. I'm gonna have to get one off Amazon. Amazon has them.
Amazon has them, yeah. Home Depot has them.
I'm gonna have to get one of those.
Handy.
Well, that is quite, and I mean, it's irrelevant if it's a big fastener or a little one, because you're just getting it started.
That's right, unless you're dealing with something that's a half-inch head on it, which is not too likely to be a screw.
But what happens all the time, for me, I'm just thinking, on old cars, which Tri-5s especially, all of the door hardware is Phillips head tapered screws, but they're like a bolt size.
Yeah.
Well, you're trying to hold the door and screw around, and it's a number 3, so you have a big screwdriver, unless you have a nut, and you're trying to do it all at once. Well, it's on the floor jack. If you could have it all in one thing, man,
There you go.
maybe I'll just take this one. I'll store it with your inching crane.
Yeah, right on. How about that? Yeah. All right. Well, so we did that. Oh, one more piece. I didn't talk about in the Loctite catalog. I found this, and
In the catalog. Holy Mur was I gotta make fun of you for 1 second here. You can get back to it.
Surprising.
So Mur was telling me, he comes over and he's like, I'm doing these things, and just as he's going through life now, he'll see something and he'll be like, well, that's kind of interesting, and he goes, that will be a good podcast topic, and he writes it down. So I love it. Anyways, keep going. Don't ever change. Without you, there's no content. All I was making fun of you and whatever stupidity I do.
I'm turning this podcast around. I tell you. The nice Loctite people sell it at probably a lot of money, but I don't know. They do sell it at Princess Auto, so I was going to go and look. And what it is, just the equivalent of something like that, but it's paint. So when you got your torque wrench from the previous podcast, you've used the Loctite from this podcast, then you will tighten it up and then put that drop of paint on it to show that you have
tamper seal stuff.
Yeah, so you can tell, you can't release it. You'll see if somebody did that. So I mean, if somebody were to, undo a nut that you put on or something like that, it would crack.
It's like a paint marker.
Like a paint marker.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have to say probably about the same as paint. It's just they say it's tamper-proof. So
that's a funny one too. Like I've used that lots here and there, but I don't use it as a tamper-proof so much as a reminding myself that I have torqued it.
Exactly.
Because realistically, I mean, again, you trust yourself. You crank on the ring gear, and you could paint it all you want. If it comes back loose, it came back loose.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way around it.
Yeah.
It's just if you put it on there, you're like, oh, I have done this. Especially if you're doing stuff in sequence.
Yeah,
it's handy.
Yeah, but you'll find, as you get older, sometimes the memory isn't as good as you might have thought it was. So, I mean, if you do something and it's got 5 bolts, 5 knots on it, you did do all of them, and then you do that. Because like whenever I torque something, torque it once, torque it twice every single time, then you shouldn't move at all if you've done it right the first time. But if you do that all the time, that's it. And there's just certain things that if you get in a habit of doing repetitive tasks the same way, then you never have to second guess yourself. When I used to teach kids how to do an oil change, I said you pull the drain plug out, it does not leave your hand. As you let it drain out, maybe change the washer, it doesn't come out of your hand, you put it in and tighten it. If you look at it, if it's in, it's tight for sure. If it's loose, then it's not loose, it's in your hand.
Well, that's stuff like that drives me nuts, because then you go back for the double check to make sure it's tight. Well, a lot of guys, they'll put it in finger tight and would do the oil change, whatever, then they'll double check it, and that's the first time tight. That's not double checking it.
Yeah.
Idiots.
Yeah. No, that's one of those things that's, if you, and that's each individual person's way of doing things, but if whatever works for you, if you always do it the same time, then you don't have to worry. If you see the drain plug, you know it's tight because you've never done it any other way. And again, I never had to come back for a loose drain plug. I mean, may have gone out to the garage and left my keys in the kitchen, but at least
These things happen. The drain plugs.
the drain plugs.
So when the drain plug's loose, that's when we know we got to put you in the wheelbarrow and drop you off at the old folks' home.
over the side of the river and see him, or that's it. Yeah.
He screwed up his first oil change. He's out of here.
He's out of here. Yeah. That's.
So then really what we're saying is we don't actually know how much we want to take the advice of what Murr is about to tell us next from questions he got in the comments.
Not there yet.
I know when it starts to make no sense, then I'll be out the door.
This worked out great. So Murr brought questions for himself.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting thing. I don't know, Dan said I could do this. That
You do whatever you want. You make it seem like we let you out of the cage to do the podcast. He's a free man.
If you're a good boy, we'll take you for an ice cream later, Murr.
Oh, good. Well, this is things that people were nice enough to comment on some of the things that I've done, so that's kind of nice.
Are any of them about, what was it, never sees on lug nuts? Because that was controversial.
I'd say it was about 50-50 of people that agreed versus disagreed.
What about Loctite on lug nuts? Never ever?
No, I never. No,
Okay.
No, never do that. I don't.
No,
That is a service item. I don't think you'd want to do that. For lots of different reasons, tapered. We don't need to go into that.
I was just joking.
But you can't put them on backwards.
Oh, Danny's gone.
Danny's gone again.
It's plugged in and everything.
Oh, how can that be?
So we must be at like the 50-minute mark? Is that what we're at?
We're at 1 hour. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh God, you better get the hook out of here soon. Okay, this is Frank's Garage 8551. Just asked about. I talked about the Haggerty extra insurance, and we have government mandated insurance. So for us in Manitoba and another province called British Columbia that have a similar sort of a thing, Haggerty is the extension coverage that you get. You can get whatever you want through the provincially mandated one, but Haggerty has the ability to pay what you say it's worth without fighting. And that, for if you have a collector car, even a car that's special to you. Maybe you've got a 65 Chrysler four-door sedan that is really not a very collectible car, but it was your grandfather's car and you think it's worth whatever you think it's worth, Haggerty will back up that thing and they will pay you.
I was actually just at Autopack doing the blue Nomad.
Yeah.
And saying this and that, I asked, is there a way we can figure it out here? Because I don't want to have an issue. They go, nope, this is what it's going to be. And if it's ever in a wreck or stolen or burnt to the ground, it is up to the adjuster to determine what it's worth.
Yeah.
How in the hell are you going to put a price on a 55 Chevy Nomad or at least anything like that?
And I bet you the MPI insurance was very cheap for it.
It's very cheap.
Because they think it's a 1955 Chevy.
Yeah.
Four-door sedan, or 1955 anything has got to be $400 a year.
We went through that years ago now, but remember that 64 Falcon or whatever I had, and it was vandalized. Someone had burnt the interior of it. That was a really nice car. It was a 6-cylinder, automatic, low mile, one owner.
One owner car, yeah.
Four-door sedan, nothing special.
Yeah.
But it was nice. A nice car. I drove it a little bit, and the interior got burnt in it. And so, took it to Autopack, and looking back, shouldn't have done that. I should have just put an interior in the thing, because it was fine, still ran and drove.
Yeah.
But the seats burnt, and the carpet burnt, and the headliner, and the windows, and all that, and it was ugly.
This camera, I think, might overheat.
Oh.
So let's get one more question in.
Anyways, so lesson learned there: get the proper insurance.
Yeah.
Because I got screwed around.
I know of several people. One of them being Matt Farah, high performance YouTube guy, had that happen to his wife's Delica, and Haggerty Insurance. They're not their fault, and they said this is the price. Fix
You know
it.
him personally.
No,
You know
not even. Waiting
If
for
you
to
unplug
meet
that
these
thing, it
guys.
probably won't overheat so much. Just trying to charge and use the battery once. Don't shake the camera, Danielle.
Oh, this may be it for us.
Okay, Murr, what's your next
Are we
question?
still there?
So
Okay.
just make sure your stuff's insured properly.
Make sure the stuff's insured properly. It's cheap, and it's the peace of mind is well worth it.
You don't want to find out after the fact that it was wrong.
That's right. Ricker will toot about the seatbelt thing. He said, because I used a motion of cutting the seatbelt like this. He said, well, you cut the bottom, which is correct. Most cars, it's all in one, so if you cut any piece, it'll come apart. But for sure, that's what it is. And remember, cutting the seatbelts a secondary thing. Probably it's going to release if you hit the button.
Yeah.
So just remember
The odds
to,
of a seatbelt failing,
yeah,
like that must be if the car crashes and you get stuck in or can't reach it or something like that.
something like, well,
Like the center console folds over the
or
buckle.
something weird like that.
Because I mean, a
or-
seatbelt, a seatbelt from a '65 Chevy that's
Yeah.
been sitting in the wrecking yard, it'll work.
It still works fine.
Like
yeah.
it's a
Yeah, possibly. Like a lot of cars have seatbelt tensioners that go off with the airbags, maybe. But the main thing is, you want to somehow get out of that seatbelt. You want to window down, get the kids out the door as soon as possible. Don't panic. Okay, somebody said, Christopher Conrad 4156, in the Rust Belt in Nova Scotia, I never use grease or never seize on all wheel nuts. I use grease or never seize on all wheel nuts. The wheels will seize on in less than 6 months.
I believe it.
I would believe it down there. So
That is almost you can't say every single wheel needs never seize,
Yeah.
but you can say in your environment,
yeah,
you probably should use a little.
and
Is she still
also
going or are you panicking?
around the hub, it will seize.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That's clean it. But that never seize on. It'll be well worth your time in case you ever have a flat tire.
Well, and I've
dark
seen
and
it many
stormy
times,
night.
just old cars. You get everything off, and you just got to heat up the rim to hear it crack,
Oh,
and then the wheel will come right off.
Yep.
It's
that's for sure.
one more, Mer. Danny's losing her mind on the camera here. That's
Okay.
We're gonna lose the footage. We're gonna do it again.
Terry
2
Bob-
hours with Mer.
8581. How many times Murr went to find a tool and couldn't when Dan was younger?
Oh boy.
Any other
And that's our
time.
time. That's our time. That never happened. Well, thank you so much for watching.
I learned he lies all the time. Have you got that? No. All my tools from when I was a mechanic were engraved. When I retired, I quit doing it because why would I need to? That's the reason. Is that my half-inch snap-on wrench? No.
Yeah, if this thing wasn't engraved, I'd be taking this one. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Thanks to Mer and Blue Chew and Threadlocker and all sorts of stuff. And we'll be back next week when Danny figures out the cameras with overheat. You gotta put ice on it or something.
Well, it's like 30 degrees out today. It
It's
makes
gorgeous
sense.
today, finally. Anyways, that's it for us. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one. Mondays. Danny's changed it to Mondays. We'll see you Mondays. See you.
Bye.
Bye.
They can't see you.
You have to say your bye.
Bye.
Thanks.